Personality Plus by Florence Littauer. Introduction: Understanding Personality. Florence Littauer begins Personality Plus by emphasizing that people are fundamentally different, not broken. Many daily frustrations, at home, at work, and in friendships, come from expecting others to think, react, and behave the same way we do. When these differences are not understood, normal personality traits are often misinterpreted as flaws, laziness, stubbornness, or insensitivity, leading to unnecessary conflict and resentment. The author explains that personality differences influence how people communicate, make decisions, handle emotions, and relate to others. Without understanding these differences, even well-meaning individuals can hurt one another simply by operating from their own natural style. Littauer argues that learning about personality provides clarity, patience, and compassion, replacing judgment with understanding. To explain these differences, the book introduces the 4 temperaments model: Sanguine, Choleric, Melancholy, and Phlegmatic. This system, rooted in classical temperament theory, categorizes personality patterns based on emotional responses, energy levels, and behavioral tendencies. Each temperament comes with distinct strengths that can be highly valuable, as well as weaknesses that can create problems if left unchecked. A key distinction made in the introduction is between temperament and character. Temperament is presented as something people are born with. It shapes natural reactions, preferences, and instincts. Character, on the other hand, is developed over time through choices, discipline, and personal growth. Littauer stresses that weaknesses linked to temperament are not excuses for poor behavior. Rather, they are areas that require intentional development. The introduction concludes by clarifying the purpose of the book: to help readers understand themselves and others more accurately. Instead of trying to change people or feeling frustrated by differences, readers are encouraged to use personality awareness as a tool for improving communication, strengthening relationships, and growing into more balanced and effective individuals. Chapter 1: The 4 Basic Personality Types. Florence Littauer explains that people generally reflect one or more of 4 basic personality types. Each personality comes with unique strengths that can be used positively, as well as weaknesses that require awareness and self-control. Understanding these types helps us recognize our own behavior and relate better to others. Number 1. The Popular Sanguine. The Popular Sanguine is easily the most noticeable personality in any group. This person is lively, expressive, talkative, and emotionally responsive. Sanguines thrive on interaction with people and are energized by conversation, activity, and excitement. They tend to live in the present moment, focusing on what feels good right now rather than worrying about long-term consequences. Their enthusiasm is natural and contagious, making them magnets for attention and companionship. One of the greatest strengths of the sanguine is their ability to connect with others. They are warm, friendly, and genuinely interested in people. Because they are emotionally open, they tend to form relationships quickly and easily. They are excellent storytellers and communicators, often bringing humor, creativity, and optimism into social situations. When a group feels tense or discouraged, the sanguine is usually the one who lightens the mood and restores energy. Sanguines are also highly creative. They enjoy new ideas, new experiences, and new projects. Their imagination and spontaneity allow them to think beyond rigid systems and routines. In environments that value creativity and people skills, such as sales, entertainment, teaching, or customer service, sanguines can thrive. Their enthusiasm often inspires others and motivates teams emotionally, if not structurally. However, many of the sanguine's strengths can also become weaknesses. Because they live in the moment and follow their feelings, they often struggle with discipline and organization. Details bore them, routines frustrate them, and follow-through can be a serious challenge. A sanguine may enthusiastically agree to commitments but forget them later, not out of dishonesty, but because their attention is easily pulled elsewhere. Impulsivity is another major weakness. Sanguines often speak before thinking and act before planning. This can lead to hurtful words, broken promises, or poorly thought-out decisions. They may exaggerate stories, arrive late, or lose track of responsibilities. While their intentions are usually good, their lack of consistency can erode trust if they do not learn self-control. Emotionally, sanguines experience highs and lows strongly. They are quick to laugh, but also quick to cry. They may overreact to criticism or rejection, taking things personally even when no harm is intended. Because approval from others matters deeply to them, they may struggle with insecurity beneath their cheerful exterior. In friendships, sanguines are fun, loyal, and affectionate. They remember birthdays, organize gatherings, and bring people together. As spouses, they are romantic and expressive, openly showing love and affection. However, they may frustrate partners with forgetfulness, lack of responsibility, or inconsistency unless they intentionally grow in maturity. At work, sanguines shine in roles involving people, but often need structure or accountability from others to stay focused and finish tasks. Number 2. The powerful choleric. The powerful choleric is driven, decisive, and intensely goal-oriented. This personality is marked by strong willpower, confidence, and a desire for control. Cholerics naturally take charge of situations and feel comfortable making decisions quickly. They focus on results, efficiency, and productivity, often asking, "What needs to be done?" rather than "How does everyone feel about it?" One of the most significant strengths of the choleric is leadership. Cholerics are comfortable with responsibility and rarely shy away from challenges. They are highly self-motivated and do not need external encouragement to get things done. Once committed to a goal, they pursue it relentlessly. This makes them effective leaders, executives, entrepreneurs, and organizers. Cholerics are also independent thinkers. They trust their judgment and are not easily swayed by emotions or opinions. In crisis situations, this calm decisiveness can be invaluable. While others hesitate, the choleric moves forward. They are excellent problem solvers and are willing to make difficult choices that others may avoid. However, the same strength that makes the choleric effective can also make them difficult. Their strong personality can come across as domineering, aggressive, or insensitive. Because they prioritize tasks over relationships, they may unintentionally hurt others' feelings or overlook emotional needs. Patience is often a struggle, especially with people who move slowly or think differently. Cholerics can be blunt to the point of harshness. They value honesty and efficiency, sometimes forgetting that words carry emotional impact. Their desire for control can lead to micromanagement and frustration when things do not go their way. They may struggle to listen, interrupting others or dismissing ideas they see as impractical. Emotionally, cholerics are often guarded. They do not enjoy vulnerability and may see emotional expression as weakness. As a result, they can appear distant or unapproachable. Anger is the emotion they express most easily, especially when goals are blocked or standards are not met. In relationships, cholerics are loyal and protective, but they may dominate conversations and decisions. As spouses, they often take responsibility seriously and work hard to provide security. However, they must learn empathy, patience, and gentle communication to maintain harmony. In friendships, they often prefer purposeful relationships over casual ones. In the workplace, cholerics excel in leadership and high-pressure roles. They bring momentum and direction to teams, but must learn to value cooperation and emotional intelligence. Growth for the choleric involves slowing down, listening, and recognizing that success includes people, not just results. Number 3. The perfect melancholy. The perfect melancholy is deep, analytical, and detail-oriented. This personality is characterized by thoughtful reflection, sensitivity, and a strong desire for accuracy and meaning. Melancholies think deeply before acting and often perceive nuances that others miss. Their inner world is rich, complex, and emotionally intense. One of the melancholy's greatest strengths is their analytical ability. They excel at planning, organizing, and evaluating information. They notice flaws, inconsistencies, and potential problems early, making them valuable in roles that require precision and careful thinking. Their perfectionism, while sometimes challenging, drives them to produce high-quality work. Melancholies are also deeply creative. Many artists, musicians, writers, and thinkers fall into this category. Their emotional depth allows them to express ideas and feelings in profound and meaningful ways. They are often idealistic, holding strong values and a deep sense of loyalty. Another strength of the melancholy is faithfulness. Once committed, whether to a person, project, or cause, they remain devoted. They form deep, lasting relationships rather than many shallow ones. They take promises seriously and expect the same from others. However, the melancholy's weaknesses often stem from their perfectionism. Their high standards can make them critical of themselves and others. They may feel discouraged when reality falls short of ideals, leading to pessimism or withdrawal. Because they see what is wrong more easily than what is right, they can struggle with negativity. Self-criticism is particularly strong in melancholies. They replay mistakes in their minds and can dwell on failures long after others have moved on. This tendency can lead to guilt, sadness, or indecision. Fear of making mistakes may prevent them from taking action at all. Emotionally, melancholies feel deeply but may not express it openly. They are sensitive to criticism and may interpret neutral comments as personal rejection. Because they value depth and authenticity, superficial interactions can leave them feeling isolated or misunderstood. In relationships, melancholies are caring, loyal, and attentive. As friends and spouses, they listen carefully and offer meaningful support. However, they may struggle with communication, expecting others to intuit their needs. Learning to express feelings clearly and accept imperfection is essential for their growth. At work, melancholies excel in detail-oriented, planning, and creative roles. They bring thoughtfulness and quality, but must balance analysis with action. Growth for the melancholy involves learning grace for themselves and others, and recognizing that perfection is neither possible nor required. Number 4. The peaceful phlegmatic. The peaceful phlegmatic is calm, steady, and easygoing. This personality values harmony and avoids conflict whenever possible. Phlegmatics are typically relaxed, agreeable, and content with routines. They are good listeners and prefer stability over excitement or confrontation. One of the phlegmatic's greatest strengths is their ability to bring peace. They are patient, tolerant, and diplomatic, often acting as mediators in tense situations. Because they are not driven by strong emotional reactions, they provide balance and calm in environments dominated by more intense personalities. Phlegmatics are also dependable. Once committed, they are steady and loyal, even if not flashy or ambitious. They work well behind the scenes, supporting others quietly and consistently. Their reliability makes them trusted friends, co-workers, and partners. Another strength is their adaptability. Phlegmatics are generally satisfied with what they have and do not demand constant change. They are cooperative, agreeable, and rarely seek attention. This makes them pleasant to be around and easy to work with. However, the phlegmatic's desire for peace can become a weakness. Avoidance of conflict may lead to passivity or indecision. Phlegmatics may postpone decisions, resist change, or allow others to make choices for them. This can result in missed opportunities or frustration from more driven personalities. Lack of motivation is another challenge. Because phlegmatics are content with the status quo, they may struggle with initiative or ambition. They often need external motivation to start tasks, even though they usually complete them once started. Emotionally, phlegmatics often suppress feelings to maintain peace. While they appear calm, unresolved emotions can build internally. Learning to express needs and opinions assertively is important for their emotional health. In relationships, phlegmatics are supportive, faithful, and considerate. As spouses, they provide stability and patience. However, partners may wish for more passion or initiative. In friendships, phlegmatics are loyal listeners, but may need encouragement to engage more actively. In leadership, phlegmatics lead quietly and cooperatively rather than forcefully. They are excellent team players, but must develop confidence and assertiveness to reach their full potential. Growth for the phlegmatic involves learning to take initiative and recognizing that conflict, handled wisely, is not always harmful. Chapter 2. Discovering your personality type. Understanding your own personality is one of the most valuable steps in personal growth. Florence Littauer emphasizes that discovering your personality type is not about putting yourself into a rigid box or making excuses for bad behavior. Instead, it is about gaining self-awareness, recognizing why you respond the way you do, what motivates you, and where your natural strengths and weaknesses lie. When people understand themselves clearly, they are better able to improve relationships, make wise decisions, and grow beyond their limitations. The first step in discovering your personality type is honest self-evaluation and observation. This involves paying close attention to your natural reactions rather than focusing on how you wish you were or how others expect you to behave. Littauer explains that people often learn to adapt their behavior based on their environment, upbringing, or responsibilities, which can make identifying true temperament challenging. To discover your real personality, you must look beneath these learned behaviors. Self-evaluation begins by observing how you act in relaxed, natural settings. How do you behave when you are not under pressure? What do you do when no one is telling you what to do? Your natural temperament shows itself most clearly when you are comfortable, at ease, and free to choose. For example, some people naturally seek conversation and excitement, while others prefer quiet reflection or structured tasks. These tendencies reveal more about temperament than performance-based behaviors shaped by duty or necessity. Another key part of self-evaluation is noticing emotional reactions. Different personalities respond to situations in different ways. Some react quickly and emotionally. Some become angry and assertive. Some withdraw and overthink, while others remain calm and neutral. Littauer encourages readers to pay attention to what they feel first when surprised, criticized, stressed, or hurt. These emotional patterns are strong clues to personality type. Observation also includes listening to consistent feedback from others. While people may not always express feedback kindly, repeated comments from trusted friends, family members, or coworkers can reveal patterns you may overlook. If multiple people describe you in similar ways, such as outgoing, controlling, quiet, or analytical, there is likely truth in those observations. Littauer cautions, however, that feedback should be considered carefully and weighed alongside self-awareness, not accepted blindly. Once self-evaluation begins, the next step is identifying dominant and secondary temperaments. Littauer explains that while everyone has traits from all four personality types, sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic, most people have one dominant temperament that influences their behavior most strongly. This dominant type shapes how a person thinks, reacts, communicates, and approaches life. The dominant temperament is usually the one that feels most natural and effortless. You do not have to force it. It is simply who you are. For example, a dominant sanguine naturally seeks social interaction and excitement, while a dominant melancholy naturally analyzes details and values depth. The dominant temperament often shows itself early in life and remains consistent, even though behaviors may soften or mature over time. Alongside the dominant temperament, many people have a secondary temperament that also influences their personality. This secondary type modifies or balances the dominant one. For instance, a sanguine choleric may be outgoing and enthusiastic but also goal-oriented and driven, whereas a melancholy phlegmatic may be analytical but gentle and peace-loving. Understanding this combination helps explain why no two people behave exactly the same way, even if they share a dominant temperament. Identifying secondary temperaments can bring clarity to inner conflicts. A person may feel pulled in two directions, for example, enjoying people but needing quiet time, or wanting control but avoiding conflict. Littauer explains that these tensions are normal and often reflect the interaction between dominant and secondary traits rather than inconsistency or confusion. Understanding mixed personalities is an important part of discovering your personality type. Littauer emphasizes that pure personality types are rare. Most people are mixtures, and these combinations create unique personalities. This is why two people with the same dominant temperament can appear very different in behavior, communication style, and emotional expression. Mixed personalities develop as temperaments interact with each other and with life experiences. Education, family environment, culture, and responsibilities influence how personality traits are expressed. For example, a melancholy raised in a leadership role may develop choleric behaviors for work, while a natural choleric may learn to adopt phlegmatic calmness in order to maintain relationships. These adaptations can blur personality distinctions if not understood properly. Littauer encourages readers not to become frustrated when they see traits from multiple personality types in themselves. Instead, this complexity should be appreciated. Mixed personalities allow for balance. A sanguine's enthusiasm can be strengthened by melancholy discipline, or a choleric's drive can be softened by phlegmatic patience. Recognizing this mixture helps people use their strengths more effectively while managing weaknesses. One key warning Littauer gives is not to confuse learned behavior with personality. People often identify with tasks they perform well rather than traits they naturally possess. For example, a person may work in a highly technical job but still be a sanguine at heart, or a teacher may appear outgoing but actually needs solitude to recharge. True temperament shows itself not in skills alone, but in motivation, emotional response, and inner preference. Finally, Littauer addresses common misconceptions about personality typing. One major misconception is that personality labels limit or define a person completely. Some people fear being stuck with their weaknesses once they identify their temperament. Littauer strongly rejects this idea, emphasizing that personality explains tendencies, not destiny. Weaknesses are areas for growth, not excuses. Another misconception is that one personality type is better than the others. Littauer stresses that all temperaments are equal in value and necessary for a balanced world. Each type contributes something essential, and no personality is complete on its own. Problems arise not from having a certain temperament, but from failing to mature and grow within it. A further misunderstanding is using personality typing to judge, criticize, or label others unfairly. When personality knowledge is misused, it can become a tool for blame rather than understanding. Littauer reminds readers that the goal of personality discovery is compassion, learning to appreciate differences instead of demanding sameness. In conclusion, discovering your personality type requires honest self-reflection, careful observation, and willingness to accept both strengths and weaknesses. By identifying dominant and secondary temperaments, understanding mixed personalities, and avoiding common misconceptions, individuals can gain clarity about who they are. This understanding becomes a foundation for personal growth, healthier relationships, and a more meaningful life grounded in self-awareness rather than comparison or confusion. Chapter 3: Strengths and Weaknesses in Daily Life. Florence Littauer emphasizes that every personality type possesses valuable strengths, but those same strengths can turn into weaknesses if they are overused, misused, or left unchecked. Understanding this balance is essential because problems in daily life are often not caused by weaknesses alone, but by strengths taken to unhealthy extremes. Personality itself is neutral. Maturity determines whether it becomes helpful or harmful. One of the key ideas in Personality Plus is that strengths and weaknesses are closely connected. A sanguine's enthusiasm, for example, is a strength that brings energy and joy to others, but when uncontrolled it becomes impulsiveness and lack of discipline. A choleric's decisiveness allows them to lead effectively, but unchecked it can turn into domination and insensitivity. Melancholy's attention to detail produces excellence, yet taken too far it creates perfectionism and discouragement. Phlegmatic's calm nature brings peace, but when exaggerated it results in passivity and procrastination. Littauer explains that people often dislike in others what they fail to manage in themselves. A choleric may criticize a sanguine for being careless, while ignoring their own harshness. A melancholy may resent a phlegmatic's relaxed pace, while dwelling excessively on details. Recognizing that weaknesses grow out of strengths helps replace judgment with understanding, both for oneself and for others. Another important aspect of daily life is emotional tendency. Each personality has characteristic emotional patterns that influence reactions, communication, and decision-making. Sanguines are highly emotional and expressive. They feel joy and sadness intensely and respond quickly. Their openness makes them engaging, but it can also lead to mood swings and overreaction. Because feelings strongly influence their behavior, they may make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. Cholerics experience emotions differently. They tend not to dwell on feelings, except for anger or frustration. When things go wrong or obstacles block their goals, anger becomes their primary emotional response. They recover quickly from emotional setbacks, but may fail to recognize or validate the feelings of others. Their emotional strength can be an advantage in difficult situations, but it can also make them appear cold or harsh. Melancholies experience emotions deeply and internally. They are sensitive, reflective, and often idealistic. While they may not express emotions openly, feelings such as sadness, guilt, or disappointment can linger for a long time. They tend to analyze emotions rather than release them, which can lead to emotional heaviness. Their depth allows for empathy and compassion, but also makes them vulnerable to discouragement and pessimism. Phlegmatics are emotionally steady and calm. They rarely show extreme emotional reactions and are good at maintaining balance in tense situations. However, their emotional restraint can lead to suppression rather than resolution. Instead of addressing issues openly, phlegmatics may withdraw or avoid confrontation altogether. Over time, unexpressed emotions can build beneath the surface. Stress affects each temperament differently, often exaggerating weaknesses. Littauer explains that in stressful situations, people revert to their most natural and least controlled responses. Stress reveals personality patterns more clearly than comfort does. When sanguines experience stress, they may become scattered, talk excessively, or seek escape through distraction. They may procrastinate, deny problems, or rely heavily on emotional support from others. Under pressure, their usual enthusiasm can turn into nervous energy or dramatization. Learning discipline and focus helps sanguines respond more constructively to stress. Cholerics under stress become more controlling and aggressive. Their need for order and efficiency intensifies, and they may push themselves and others too hard. Stress can make them impatient, short-tempered, and dismissive of emotional concerns. Instead of slowing down, they tend to press forward even harder. Growth for cholerics under stress involves learning to pause, delegate, and listen. Melancholies respond to stress by withdrawing inward. They may overanalyze situations, expect failure, or replay mistakes repeatedly. Stress heightens their perfectionism, making them overly critical of themselves and others. They may become indecisive or fearful of taking action. Learning to accept imperfection and trust the process helps melancholies manage stress more effectively. Phlegmatics under stress tend to shut down or avoid action. Rather than confronting the situation, they may disengage emotionally or physically. Stress increases their tendency to procrastinate and resist change. While they may appear calm on the outside, stress can create inner numbness or quiet resentment. Growth for phlegmatics requires learning to face problems directly, even when uncomfortable. Managing reactions and behaviors is a central goal of Personality Plus. Littauer repeatedly stresses that understanding personality does not excuse bad behavior. Instead, it places responsibility on individuals to grow. Maturity means recognizing your natural tendencies and choosing appropriate responses rather than reacting automatically. For sanguines, managing behavior involves developing self-discipline and consistency. This includes learning to think before speaking, honoring commitments, and building routines that support follow-through. Emotional awareness helps sanguines pause and respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. Cholerics must learn self-control in communication and leadership. Managing behavior means softening tone, practicing patience, and acknowledging the value of others' feelings and contributions. When cholerics learn to balance strength with kindness, their leadership becomes far more effective. Melancholies benefit from learning cognitive balance, challenging negative thoughts, and avoiding excessive self-criticism. Managing reactions means separating facts from feelings and accepting that mistakes are part of growth. Expressing emotions instead of suppressing them also helps prevent emotional overload. Phlegmatics need to practice assertiveness and initiative. Managing behavior involves speaking up, making decisions, and taking responsibility rather than avoiding discomfort. Learning that conflict can be healthy helps phlegmatics grow stronger and more confident. In daily life, personality growth happens through small, intentional choices. Littauer encourages readers to focus not on changing who they are, but on managing how they respond. When strengths are balanced with self-awareness and discipline, weaknesses lose their power. Understanding strengths and weaknesses becomes not a source of frustration, but a practical guide for healthier relationships, wiser decisions, and continuous personal growth. Chapter 4. Improving Relationships Through Personality Awareness. Florence Littauer stresses that many relationship problems do not arise because people are unloving or selfish, but because they fundamentally misunderstand one another. People often assume that others think, feel, and react the same way they do. When this assumption fails, frustration sets in. Personality awareness offers a powerful solution by helping individuals understand differences instead of trying to eliminate them. One of the most important lessons in Personality Plus is learning to understand others rather than trying to change them. Littauer explains that people frequently attempt to reshape others to fit their own expectations. A talkative person may push a quiet one to open up, or a structured person may criticize someone who prefers flexibility. These efforts usually lead to resentment, not improvement. Personality awareness shifts the focus from control to acceptance. Understanding another person's temperament allows individuals to interpret behavior accurately. What seems like carelessness, stubbornness, emotional coldness, or laziness is often a natural personality trait rather than a moral failure. For example, a phlegmatic's calm detachment may be mistaken for indifference, or a melancholy seriousness may be seen as negativity. When personality awareness is applied, judgment is replaced by empathy, and irritation is replaced by patience. Rather than demanding change, Littauer encourages appreciation of differences. Each temperament contributes something valuable to relationships. Growth becomes possible not through criticism, but through encouragement and understanding. This mindset creates an atmosphere where people feel accepted, making true personal change more likely. Personality awareness plays a vital role in marriage, where differences are especially noticeable. Spouses often assume that love should produce sameness, but Littauer argues that marriage highlights personality differences rather than erasing them. Many marital conflicts stem from unmet expectations rooted in personality. In marriage, sanguines often express love verbally and emotionally, seeking attention, affection, and shared experiences. They thrive on communication and excitement, but may struggle with responsibility and consistency. Their partners may feel frustrated by forgetfulness or impulsive behavior, unless they recognize that these traits are part of the sanguine temperament rather than intentional neglect. Cholerics in marriage often show love through action, leadership, and problem-solving. They want progress and efficiency and may assume responsibility naturally. However, they may overlook emotional needs or appear controlling. Without personality awareness, their spouse may feel unheard or dominated. Understanding the choleric temperament helps partners appreciate their loyalty and drive while encouraging gentler communication. Melancholies bring depth, loyalty, and thoughtfulness into marriage. They value sincerity and emotional security, but may struggle with perfectionism and negative thinking. Their sensitivity can cause misunderstandings when they withdraw or brood silently. Personality awareness helps spouses respond with patience and reassurance rather than defensiveness. Phlegmatics bring stability and peace into marriage. They avoid conflict and are supportive partners, but may lack initiative or passion. Spouses may feel unimportant or ignored if they mistake calmness for lack of care. Understanding phlegmatics helps partners value their loyalty while encouraging open expression. In friendship, personality awareness helps explain why people form certain bonds and struggle with others. Some friendships thrive on shared activity and talk, while others depend on depth, loyalty, or mutual support. Problems often occur when friends expect the same level of interaction or emotional expression from one another. Sanguines make enthusiastic, social friends who enjoy frequent contact and shared fun. They may unintentionally hurt friends by forgetting plans or commitments. Understanding their personality helps friends avoid taking such lapses personally. Cholerics approach friendship with purpose. They value loyalty and support, but may appear demanding or dominant. They may prefer fewer, deeper friendships rather than many casual ones. Personality awareness allows friends to understand their need for respect and direct communication. Melancholies invest deeply in friendships and value emotional closeness. They may feel hurt if friends are casual or inconsistent. Their sensitivity requires reassurance and honesty. Recognizing this temperament helps friends communicate more thoughtfully. Phlegmatics are loyal, easygoing friends who are good listeners. They are supportive but may rarely initiate contact. Friends who understand this temperament realize that quiet presence does not mean lack of care. Parenting is another area where personality awareness is crucial. Littauer explains that many parents unintentionally discipline children based on their own temperament rather than the child's. This creates misunderstanding and frustration. A sanguine child needs structure paired with encouragement. Harsh discipline may crush their spirit, while lack of guidance can increase irresponsibility. Understanding this temperament helps parents balance energy with boundaries. A choleric child needs respect and opportunities for leadership. Excessive control leads to rebellion, while wise guidance helps them develop responsibility and empathy. A melancholy child needs reassurance, patience, and emotional safety. Criticism affects them deeply, so discipline must be gentle and clear. Encouragement builds confidence. A phlegmatic child needs motivation and emotional engagement. Passive behavior should be met with encouragement rather than pressure. Understanding helps parents guide them toward initiative and confidence. In the workplace, personality awareness improves cooperation and reduces conflict. Teams often struggle because different temperaments approach work differently. Sanguines excel in communication and morale, but may resist routine. Cholerics focus on results and leadership, but may clash with others. Melancholies value planning and accuracy, but may slow progress. Phlegmatics support stability and teamwork, but may lack urgency. When managers and coworkers understand these differences, work environments become more balanced and productive. Roles can be assigned more wisely, and conflicts can be resolved with understanding rather than blame. Communication styles differ significantly among temperaments, and this is one of the most practical aspects of personality awareness. Sanguines communicate emotionally and verbally, often thinking aloud. They prefer friendly tone and enthusiasm. Cholerics communicate directly and efficiently, valuing brevity and clarity. Melancholies communicate thoughtfully and carefully, preferring detailed and accurate information. Phlegmatics communicate calmly and indirectly, often listening more than speaking. Miscommunication often occurs when one temperament expects others to communicate the same way. Understanding these styles allows people to adapt their communication without sacrificing authenticity. In conclusion, improving relationships through personality awareness involves accepting differences, adjusting expectations, and communicating with empathy. Florence Littauer shows that when people stop trying to change others and instead seek to understand them, relationships become healthier, more respectful, and more fulfilling. Personality awareness does not eliminate conflict, but it transforms conflict into an opportunity for growth and deeper connection. Chapter 5: Personality and Work. Florence Littauer explains that personality plays a powerful role in work life, influencing career choices, productivity, teamwork, leadership style, and responses to authority. Many people feel frustrated or dissatisfied at work not because they lack ability, but because their job environment conflicts with their natural temperament. Understanding personality at work helps individuals choose suitable roles, improve performance, and reduce workplace conflict. One of the most practical applications of personality awareness is identifying ideal careers for each personality type. Littauer emphasizes that no career is limited to a single temperament, but certain jobs naturally align better with specific personalities. Sanguines thrive in careers involving people, communication, creativity, and variety. They enjoy environments that are lively and interactive rather than routine or isolated. Careers such as sales, marketing, teaching, public relations, entertainment, Hospitality, customer service, and event planning often suit sanguines well. Their enthusiasm and verbal skills are major assets, but they may struggle in roles requiring strict structure, repetitive tasks, or long periods of solitary work unless supported by systems that help with follow-through. Cholerics are naturally suited to leadership, management, and goal-driven careers. They prefer roles that allow independence, decision-making, and measurable results. Careers such as business leadership, entrepreneurship, administration, law, politics, military service, and executive management often appeal to them. Cholerics are energized by challenge and responsibility, but may struggle in positions where they lack authority, face excessive bureaucracy, or must work under indecisive leadership. Melancholies excel in careers requiring analysis, precision, planning, and creativity. They are comfortable with detail-oriented tasks and enjoy working toward high standards. Careers in accounting, engineering, research, writing, design, medicine, law, programming, music, and education often suit melancholies well. Their discipline and depth bring quality and reliability, but excessive pressure, vague expectations, or chaotic environments can cause stress and discouragement. Phlegmatics prefer stable, cooperative environments with minimal conflict. They do well in supportive roles that allow consistency and teamwork. Careers such as administration, counseling, human resources, social work, nursing, customer support, and logistics can suit them. While they may not seek leadership, their reliability and diplomacy make them valuable team members. They may struggle in highly competitive or high-pressure environments unless encouraged and supported. Littauer also highlights that personality strongly influences work habits and productivity styles. Different temperaments approach tasks in distinct ways, and problems often arise when people expect everyone to work the same way. Sanguines work best in bursts of energy and inspiration. They are motivated by recognition, encouragement, and interaction. They often start projects enthusiastically, but may struggle to finish them without accountability. Strict schedules and isolated work environments can reduce their productivity. They perform best when allowed creativity, collaboration, and flexibility. Cholerics are task-oriented and results-focused. They value efficiency and productivity and dislike wasted time. They prefer clear goals and autonomy, working quickly and decisively. However, their intensity may cause burnout or tension with coworkers if they fail to pace themselves or consider others' rhythms. Melancholies work carefully and systematically. They prefer planning, organization, and clear instructions. Their productivity is steady rather than fast, and they value accuracy over speed. While they produce high-quality work, they may struggle with time pressure or vague expectations. Interruptions can disrupt their focus significantly. Phlegmatics work steadily at a calm, consistent pace. They are reliable once tasks are assigned, but may struggle with initiative. Deadlines help motivate them, but excessive pressure can cause withdrawal. They work best in supportive environments that encourage participation and confidence. Team dynamics and conflict are another major area where personality awareness proves essential. Littauer explains that teams are most effective when diverse personalities work together with mutual understanding. Conflict often arises not from bad intentions, but from clashing temperaments. Sanguines bring energy, communication, and morale to teams. They encourage cooperation and creativity, but may frustrate others with disorganization or lack of focus. Learning to respect structure and details improves their teamwork. Cholerics provide direction, leadership, and momentum. They push teams toward goals, but may dominate discussions and dismiss emotional concerns. Their effectiveness increases when they learn to listen and collaborate. Melancholies contribute planning, analysis, and quality control. They identify problems early, but may seem negative or overly critical. Teams benefit when melancholies balance honesty with encouragement. Phlegmatics promote harmony and cooperation. They stabilize teams emotionally, but may avoid necessary confrontation. Encouraging them to express opinions enhances team strength. Conflict arises when these differences are misunderstood. For example, a choleric may view a phlegmatic as lazy, while the phlegmatic sees the choleric as aggressive. Personality awareness reframes these perceptions, helping teams address problems constructively rather than personally. Leadership tendencies also vary strongly by temperament. Littauer stresses that leadership is not limited to cholerics, although they often lead naturally. Cholerics lead boldly and decisively. They set direction, take responsibility, and push for results. Their challenge is developing empathy and patience so people feel valued, not driven. Sanguines lead through inspiration and motivation. They energize teams emotionally and create enthusiasm. Their challenge is maintaining structure and consistency. Melancholies lead through planning and vision. They create systems, maintain standards, and guide thoughtfully. Their challenge is avoiding overanalysis and perfectionism. Phlegmatics lead quietly through service and stability. They promote cooperation and trust. Their challenge is developing confidence and assertiveness. In conclusion, Personality Plus shows that understanding personality at work leads to better career choices, healthier productivity, stronger teams, and more effective leadership. When individuals work with their natural temperament instead of against it, and when organizations value personality diversity, the workplace becomes not only more efficient, but more humane and fulfilling. Chapter 6. Growing Beyond Your Weaknesses. Florence Littauer makes it clear that understanding personality is only the beginning of growth, not the end. The purpose of identifying temperament is not to excuse poor behavior or remain stuck in weaknesses, but to take responsibility for growth. True maturity occurs when people accept who they are while actively working to improve how they live and relate to others. The first step toward growth is accepting your personality without excuses. Littauer stresses that acceptance does not mean approval of every behavior. Rather, it means recognizing your natural tendencies honestly. People often fall into one of two extremes. They either deny weaknesses entirely or use personality as a justification for them. Statements such as, "That's just how I am," or "I can't help it, it's my personality," stop growth before it begins. Acceptance involves saying, "This is my natural temperament. These are my tendencies, and these are the areas I need to manage." When people stop pretending to be something they are not, they can begin addressing real issues instead of hiding behind appearances. Denial leads to repeated mistakes, while honest acceptance creates the foundation for change. Littauer emphasizes that temperament explains behavior, but does not excuse sin, irresponsibility, or hurtful actions. Everyone is accountable for how they treat others, regardless of personality. Growth begins when individuals stop blaming temperament and start managing it with discipline and intention. Personal growth strategies differ for each temperament because weaknesses are not the same across personalities. What challenges one temperament may not challenge another. Littauer provides practical guidance for helping each personality grow beyond its natural limitations. For the sanguine, growth begins with learning self-discipline and self-control. Sanguines must learn to slow down before speaking or acting. Thinking before talking, listening carefully, and honoring commitments are essential areas of growth. Developing routines, making written plans, and setting reminders helps sanguines overcome disorganization. They also need to learn emotional regulation so feelings do not control decisions. When sanguines develop discipline, their natural enthusiasm becomes reliable rather than chaotic. Cholerics grow by learning gentleness, patience, and empathy. Because they are naturally strong-willed and decisive, they must practice listening instead of dominating conversation. Growth for cholerics involves becoming aware of tone, body language, and emotional impact. They must learn to value people as much as results. Slowing down, delegating responsibility, and accepting differing opinions help reduce control and anger. When cholerics grow emotionally, their leadership becomes inspiring rather than intimidating. Melancholies grow by learning to release perfectionism and negative thinking. They must recognize that excellence does not require flawlessness. Growth involves challenging overly critical thoughts and learning to accept mistakes without self-condemnation. Melancholies benefit from focusing on gratitude and progress rather than dwelling on what went wrong. Expressing feelings openly rather than suppressing them also helps emotional balance. When melancholies learn flexibility, their depth becomes a strength without becoming a burden. Phlegmatics grow by developing initiative, assertiveness, and confidence. Because they value peace and comfort, they may avoid responsibility or difficult decisions. Growth requires learning that conflict, when handled respectfully, is not harmful. Phlegmatics benefit from setting small goals, making decisions deliberately, and taking responsibility rather than waiting for direction. Learning to express opinions clearly strengthens their relationships. When phlegmatics grow, their calm nature becomes purposeful rather than passive. Beyond individual strategies, Littauer highlights the importance of developing discipline, empathy, and balance across all temperaments. Discipline helps manage impulsive or lazy tendencies. Empathy helps recognize the emotional needs of others. Balance prevents strengths from becoming extremes. Discipline looks different for each temperament. For sanguines, it means consistency. For cholerics, it means restraint. For melancholies, it means limiting overanalysis. For phlegmatics, it means action. Discipline transforms personality from instinctive reaction to intentional behavior. Empathy is especially critical for growth. Littauer explains that people often judge others through the lens of their own temperament. Learning empathy means recognizing that others are not wrong simply because they are different. Cholerics learn to value feelings. Melancholies learn to value optimism. Sanguines learn to value structure. And phlegmatics learn to value urgency. Empathy turns frustration into understanding. Balance is achieved when individuals learn to compensate for their weaknesses by borrowing strengths from others. Littauer encourages readers to appreciate other personality types not as threats, but as teachers. Each temperament offers lessons that support growth. Learning from other personality types is one of the most practical and powerful growth tools. Littauer encourages people to observe and intentionally practice the strengths of other temperaments. This does not mean changing personality, but expanding maturity. Sanguines can learn organization and reliability from melancholies. Cholerics can learn patience and gentleness from phlegmatics. Melancholies can learn optimism and joy from sanguines. Phlegmatics can learn initiative and determination from cholerics. When people learn from one another, relationships become collaborative rather than competitive. This mutual learning creates balance in families, friendships, and workplaces. Instead of criticizing others for being different, people begin to recognize that no temperament is complete on its own. Growth happens best in relationships where strengths complement weaknesses. In conclusion, Personality Plus presents personal growth as a lifelong process rooted in self-awareness and responsibility. Accepting personality without excuses, applying temperament-specific growth strategies, developing discipline and empathy, and learning from others allow individuals to move from self-justification to maturity. When people manage their weaknesses instead of surrendering to them, personality becomes not a barrier, but a powerful tool for growth, effectiveness, and healthy relationships. Chapter 7. Living Successfully with Personality Differences. Florence Littauer emphasizes that understanding personality has little value unless it is applied in everyday life. Knowledge alone does not improve relationships, action does. Living successfully with personality differences means intentionally using what you know about yourself and others to respond with wisdom rather than instinct. When personality awareness is practiced daily, it transforms homes, workplaces, friendships, and communities. Applying personality knowledge in real life begins with conscious adjustment. Littauer explains that most conflict occurs because people react automatically according to their temperament. A sanguine reacts emotionally, a choleric reacts forcefully, a melancholy reacts analytically, and a phlegmatic reacts passively. Personality awareness creates a pause between stimulus and response. Instead of reacting automatically, individuals can choose how to respond. For example, when a choleric speaks bluntly, a personality-aware melancholy does not immediately assume hostility, but understands that directness is natural to that temperament. When a sanguine forgets a commitment, a phlegmatic does not quietly build resentment, but recognizes forgetfulness as a weakness that needs reminders, not judgment. Applying personality knowledge means interpreting behavior through understanding rather than assumption. Littauer stresses that application also involves adapting communication. People often insist on being understood without making any effort to understand others. Living successfully with differences requires adjusting tone, timing, and method of communication. A choleric learns to soften words. A sanguine learns to focus and listen. A melancholy learns not to overanalyze. And a phlegmatic learns to speak up. These adjustments do not change personality, they refine behavior. Another essential application is adjusting expectations. Many frustrations come not from people themselves, but from unrealistic expectations placed upon them. Expecting a sanguine to enjoy rigid routines, a choleric to move slowly, a melancholy to overlook mistakes, or a phlegmatic to thrive in constant pressure leads to disappointment. Personality awareness aligns expectations with reality, creating room for cooperation instead of resentment. Building harmony in families and teams is one of the most important outcomes of personality awareness. Littauer explains that harmony does not mean sameness or absence of disagreement. It means balance, respect, and cooperation despite differences. Families and teams naturally consist of mixed temperaments, and problems arise when one personality dominates while others are undervalued. In families, harmony grows when parents recognize both their own temperament and their children's. Parents often discipline or encourage children according to what feels natural to them rather than what the child needs. Understanding personality differences allows parents to guide with wisdom. A high-energy child needs boundaries with patience. A sensitive child needs reassurance. A strong-willed child needs respect. And a passive child needs motivation. When family members understand one another, home becomes a place of support rather than constant conflict. Marital harmony also depends heavily on personality awareness. Littauer explains that many spouses try to change their partner into a version of themselves. A talkative spouse may see silence as rejection, while a quiet spouse may see constant talk as pressure. Harmony develops when couples stop measuring love by their own preferences and start recognizing their partner's natural expressions of care. In teams and workplaces, harmony is built by valuing each temperament's contribution. Sanguines bring energy and morale. Cholerics provide direction and momentum. Melancholies ensure quality and planning. And phlegmatics maintain stability and cooperation. Littauer shows that teams function best when all temperaments are present and respected. Problems arise when one type is praised while another is ignored or criticized. Leaders play a critical role in building harmony. Personality-aware leaders assign roles based on strengths rather than convenience alone. They understand that productivity increases when people are allowed to work in ways that suit their temperament. Harmony, in this sense, is not accidental. It is intentionally cultivated through understanding and fairness. A major theme in this section is the shift from frustration to appreciation. Littauer explains that without personality awareness, differences irritate people. With awareness, those same differences become valuable. What once felt annoying begins to feel necessary. Frustration often arises when people view others only through their own personality lens. A choleric sees inefficiency, a melancholy sees carelessness, a sanguine sees coldness, and a phlegmatic sees unnecessary conflict. Appreciation replaces frustration when people learn to ask, "What strength does this person bring that I lack?" Appreciation grows when individuals intentionally notice what others do well. Instead of focusing on weaknesses, personality awareness encourages gratitude for complementary strengths. A melancholy learns to appreciate a sanguine's optimism. A sanguine appreciates a melancholy's organization. A choleric values a phlegmatic's calm. A phlegmatic respects a choleric's initiative. This mutual appreciation strengthens relationships and reduces emotional strain. Littauer emphasizes that appreciation must be expressed, not merely felt. Verbal acknowledgement, encouragement, and affirmation reinforce positive behavior and create emotional safety. When people feel valued for who they are, they become more open to growth and change. The section concludes with a strong encouragement toward ongoing self-improvement. Littauer reminds readers that personality understanding is not a finish line, but a lifelong journey. Maturity is not achieved by knowing your temperament, but by managing it consistently over time. She encourages readers to take responsibility for their own growth rather than waiting for others to change. Living successfully with personality differences begins with self-control, humility, and willingness to adapt. Change is most effective when it starts internally rather than being demanded externally. Littauer also reassures readers that growth does not mean losing individuality. Personal improvement does not require becoming less expressive, less driven, less thoughtful, or less calm. Instead, it means becoming more balanced, considerate, and intentional. Strengths remain strengths, but weaknesses lose their power. In final encouragement, Personality Plus calls readers to choose understanding over irritation, appreciation over criticism, and growth over excuse-making. When people apply personality knowledge in daily life, build harmony through respect, and commit to continual self-improvement, they do not just coexist with differences, they thrive because of them. Conclusion. Florence Littauer closes Personality Plus by reminding readers that personality is meant to be a tool for understanding, not a label for limitation. Personality descriptions are not boxes that trap people or excuses that justify harmful behavior. Instead, they are practical instruments that help individuals recognize patterns, explain differences, and respond with wisdom. When personality is treated as a label, it leads to stereotyping and complacency. When it is treated as a tool, it becomes empowering, offering direction for self-improvement and healthier relationships. Seeing personality as a tool changes how people interpret behavior, both their own and that of others. Rather than asking, "What is wrong with me?" or "Why are they so difficult?" individuals can ask, "What tendencies are influencing this situation, and how can I respond better?" This shift replaces shame, anger, and frustration with clarity and responsibility. Personality knowledge does not remove accountability. It sharpens it by showing where conscious effort is needed most. Littauer emphasizes that understanding yourself is the foundation for understanding others. Many conflicts arise because people judge others through their own personality lens. They assume that what motivates them should motivate everyone else, or that what feels loving to them should feel loving to others. Self-understanding breaks this assumption. When people recognize their own biases, emotional triggers, and communication styles, they become less reactive and more empathetic. As self-understanding grows, patience with others naturally follows. Differences stop feeling threatening and start feeling informative. A quiet person is no longer seen as unkind. A decisive person is no longer seen as cruel. An emotional person is no longer seen as irrational. And a calm person is no longer seen as lazy. Understanding transforms interpretation, and interpretation transforms relationships. The final emphasis of Personality Plus is a call to choose growth, maturity, and grace. Personality awareness is not about pointing out differences, but about managing them responsibly. Growth means working on weaknesses rather than surrendering to them. Maturity means responding thoughtfully instead of reacting instinctively. Grace means extending understanding to others while holding oneself accountable. Littauer encourages readers to stop waiting for others to change first. Personal growth begins with individual choice, choosing self-control over excuse, empathy over judgment, and effort over comfort. When people commit to growth, personality differences no longer divide. They enrich and strengthen relationships. In the end, Personality Plus presents personality not as a problem to overcome, but as a gift to steward wisely. When personality is understood and managed with maturity and grace, it becomes a powerful force for healthier relationships, deeper self-awareness, and a more balanced, compassionate life.